Hello, my name is Irene Halpen, and today I'll talk about Pieter Mondriaan. Pieter Mondriaan, born Pieter Cornelis Mondriaan Jr., was born in March 7, 1872 in Amersfoort, the Netherlands. He grew up as the second of 5 children in a devoutly Calvinist home in central Holland. Art and music were encouraged in his household. In 1892, Mondrian enrolled in the Rijksacademie van Beeldende Kunst, the Royal Academy of Visual Arts in Amsterdam. His 3 years of academy training focused on drawing from modern, copying old master, and genre painting. Always further is how Mondrian termed his drive to transform his artwork. Starting in 1905, his traditional landscape composition began to reveal a new sense of drama and light. Jan Turop, a leading artist of Dutch Luminism, introducing Mondrian to the French post-impressionist. Mondrian's painting changed dramatically as a result, integrating, for example, the bold color and brush work of Vincent van Gogh and the pointless technique of Georges Seurat. Even in this early work, it is apparent that Mondrian had a tendency to work in series, focusing on a singular subject. Both of these facets would be invaluable to the development of his mature abstract style. For Mondrian, art and philosophy were deeply intertwined. He was a prolific writer and theorist, and was drawn to spirit and philosophical studies. In 1908, he joined the Theosophical Society, a spiritual organization with widespread influence in Europe in the early decades of 20th century, based in the Dutch Buddhism. Theosophy directly influenced his representation style, expressed in painting of flowers and more specifically the work Evolution, 1910 to 1911, that echoed the Buddhist and Theosophist cycle of death and rebirth. The Theosophy influenced Mondrian's goal of representation, complete pure harmony, which he expressed by the balance and tension of form and color in his painting. The influence of Cubism marked a turning point in Mondrian's career. In 1912, he moved to Paris, which was the thriving center of the avant-garde art world, and became fully conversant in the works of Pablo Picasso, Braque, and others, shifting from a representational new impressionist style to modern abstractions. Analytic Cubism gave Mondrian the structure necessary to distill his landscape to their disparate elements of line and shape. He made use of the Cubist grid, reducing his image of trees and building to schematized framework. During his first years in Paris, Mondrian temporarily adopted the Cubist muted gray and yellow, brown palette as in the Grey Tree, 1912. However, unlike the Cubists, Mondrian wished to stress that flatness of the painting surface rather than allude to three-dimensional illusionistic depth as the Cubists depicted. In 1914, Mondrian was visiting his sick father in Holland when World War I broke out. He was unable to return to Paris until 1919. Despite beginning separate from the avant-garde in Paris, Mondrian continued to develop his style toward pure abstraction. Curved line gradually disappeared from his painting, along with all reference to object or nature. During the K period, Mondrian and artist and architect Theo Dosbeck founded the journal The Style in 1917. The style was a movement among Dutch artists, architects, and designers that represented an ideal of total abstraction as a model for harmony and order across the arts. Mondrian and these artists developed a vision of modernism independently from that found in Paris. Mondrian termed the resulting art style neoplasticism or the neoplastic art. For Mondrian, plastic merely referred to a novel way of representing reality found upon the surface of the painting itself. Dedicated to the absolute fidelity of tradition, the artists of the style emphasized the need for abstraction and simplification, and limited the elements in their painting to straight horizontal and vertical lines, right angles, the three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, and the three achromatic colors, gray, white, and black. The still movement proved to have a major influential influence on architecture, art, typography, interior design throughout the 20th century. After the end of World War I, Mondrian moved back to Paris and at the age of 47 began creating the iconic abstract painting for while he is best known. Within the milieu of 1920s Paris, he created a unique mode of abstraction compared to the contemporary movement of surrealism and Paris Dada. Mondrian's paintings of the 1920s are the clearest expression of his ideal of purity and universal harmony in neoplastic expression. It was only around 1925 that Mondrian began to receive recognition for his contribution to modernism, with his painting entering the collection of wealthy European and Americans. Prior to the start of World War II, Mondrian moves to London for 2 years before settling in New York City in 1940. While in London in 1938, Mondrian met and became friends with Peggy Guggenheim, an entity that led to Guggenheim's stunt support of the Dutch expatriates, both within London and later in New York, where she exhibited Mondrian's work at her Art of this Century gallery. Mondrian was introduced to the Berghain, New York avant-garde art scene not only through Guggenheim in other collections, also by joining the American abstractist artists. Additionality, legitimacy role the new group in modern art. Finally, the black grid was replaced with pulsing line and color square, inspired by the new surrounding with the American metropolis. His late painting show a new energy and complexity of composition as evidencing in Broadway Boogie Woogie 1943. Devoted to his work, Mondrian's life reflected the purity and discipline of his work. He died in 1944 in New York. Thank you.